Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is a self-discovery, relationship-building conversation where I endeavor to basically look how we connect and disconnect through words, through our language. There are many times when one word can cause a connection or a disconnection. And too often, we are not willing or we don't have the time to have a conversation about it. So that's what I want to do in this conversation. So I invite my friends, I invite guests to come in so we can have a one-word conversation. One Word Conversation is brought to you by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place to help you live your life and be yourself. One item that I spotlight at the store at I Am William Brown is our U cards. Our U cards are intention setting cards, and they're also a game. And so I like to use the cards to set the intention for this conversation. So here we go. I've picked I am unique. I am unique. You are purpose. And the quote card is, be you, the world will adjust. So with our intention set, I will do what I do. I will invite you to like, share, ask questions, subscribe, do all those things to let me know that these conversations are of value to you. So with that in mind, I will introduce our word. Our word today, this morning, is separation. Oh, there's a lot of things that come up for me with that word, but it'll be interesting to see how it shows up within this conversation. So as I do, I invite a guest in so we can have a conversation. Good morning.
Hi, Bill. Good morning.
This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
I am Ana Tampanna, and I am a trained coach who works with women who are up to something. You know, we are in a society where women are taught since very young to be critical of themselves and of each other. And that inner critic is on loudspeaker. It gets in the way of being magnificent and doing things that are truly meaningful and make a difference. So I work with women to manage that inner voice and to really get in touch with their purpose and to do things that make a big difference in the world.
Wow. Thank you very much. And thank you for being a part of this conversation. So the question of the morning is separation. How does separation land for you?
Well, Bill, if I might share the words of someone else in my answer, and these are the words of Vivek Sankaran, who is a law professor at the University of Michigan Law School.
Okay.
And he was really upset, as I was, about the separation of migrant children, of immigrant children. And what he said was, this nation has always served as a moral beacon for the rest of the world. But our treatment of these children, who have done nothing wrong other than accompany their parents seeking a better life, is a disgrace that reflects on all of us. The word separation brings that pain up for me, and it's just living in me all the time.
No, I totally get that. There's definitely for me, there's definitely a feeling of loss, of confusion, of of hurt. Anytime I think of separation, and I even at the age of 53, I can't imagine coming to this country in any way, and being having separation be a part of your journey, right? And it is, yeah, I have adult children now, but just momentary separation, when we're in a grocery store, is traumatic enough. So I couldn't imagine anything more than that. So yeah, I totally get, how that is something that stays with you.
I was very motivated to organize a large protest here in Winston-Salem. And my fear is that there is a whole generation of children that will grow up to be psychologically disturbed. I mean, they've
Mm,
been abused just because of the separation. And
mm,
many of them are experiencing physical abuse and sexual abuse, as well as their emotional abuse. So it just pains me.
mm. How else? I mean, because there's a number of uh, ways that separation shows up. How else is it landing for you, or is there a more, let's say, I mean, because this is a personal thing. I mean, this is more of a soul level of affront to, I mean, values and things that you hold dear. So in
Mhm.
no way do I want to trivialize it. But I'm trying to see, is there another way that you can, I don't want to say manage, I don't know if that's the right word, your feelings around separation, or is there any power within this word for you?
Well, there is in another way, and actually, I'm going to take a second to bring some power to this word
Okay.
by closing the door to my laundry room so I don't hear the dryer. Thank you. I'm
Wonderful.
sorry.
No, that's
That
all right.
separation was really important.
Right. No, and I felt it. You know?
The other, my originally when you said we were going to talk about one word, I immediately thought of one of my favorite words, which is compassion.
Mhm.
And then you said, no, we're going to talk about separation. Oh gosh. But the more I thought about it, I realized that separation for me and compassion go together.
Mm. Yeah.
And I feel so much compassion for those children. I'm not through fighting for the children and for justice for those families. But the other experience of separation that's really in my heart right now is um, around the COVID patients who are
Mm,
separated from their families,
mm,
the elderly who have been ostracized and closed in without being able to see their loved ones, and people who have family members dying.
mm,
My mother died 2 years ago.
mm,
She died on November. I mean, it was about this day 2 years ago that my mother
mhm,
died. And I had promised her I wanted to be with her when she died. And actually, the day she died, I was chief judge in the election and I was getting everything ready at my voting place. So my brother was with her when she actually died. But the day before, we were both with her and we had a beautiful friend from our church come in and bring her harp. So
mm,
she played her harp and we sang mother's favorite hymns. We sang Girl Scout songs that she used to sing with me as a child. We sang silly songs that she sang with children when she was teaching reading. We just sang. And I knew that we had given her a beautiful goodbye.
Hmm.
Then we had this joyful celebration of her life as a memorial service. It was so much fun. We had a New Orleans Dixie Jazz Band
Oh,
play.
wow.
I mean,
Oh,
it
that's
was
fun.
fun, and everybody got to participate in some way or the other. We had big displays about interesting things people didn't know. We had examples of all the books that she had written. So I am deeply sorry for families who are robbed of a beautiful experience with their loved ones, and especially with the loved one who's dying alone.
Hmm.
I feel so much empathy for those families, and they can't have a funeral or a celebration. I mean, it's all on Zoom.
Right.
I feel so bad for them.
Yeah, uh, I'm going to memorial service this weekend, over this weekend, probably Saturday or yeah, later today. I forget when we were recording this. But really recognizing that you know um, I'm a part of the small group that is allowed to gather. So a very small group of people. Everyone else will be um, on Zoom and all in in different ways to connect. And so it's kind of, I'm honored, and, it's, family and everything, my favorite aunt. But at the same time, um, there was a large part of her life that I don't want to say I was separated from her, but there wasn't this I guess commitment to get together or to be together. And so there's a part of that, the recognition that there is a separation, there's a physical separation, but I have thought about her more often since her passing, and she has been with me in the laughs and the different moments that I shared with her in the last couple weeks than I've been in a long time. And I would hate to think that it causes this level of separation to really appreciate and have empathy for um, what people are dealing with. You know what I mean? How people really are experiencing it. And so that, I would love for, our government, our citizens to just not wait until um, there's an affront to, our values to care or to even consider what this can, what this level of separation can do to each other. Because we reduce it down to our relationships, right? Our families, our people that we care about. But when we take it to the collective, when we take it to how we're showing up and not showing up for people in the world, it it gets very tragic very quickly.
I believe that when someone dies, that they live inside you,
Mm.
and you can hear their voice, they
Mhm.
hear their reactions to things. You can be really connected with them by just feeling their spirit inside you. So I do believe that that's very possible. And I work with women to get in touch with their grandmothers.
Mm.
It seems that for especially women, if they know the character of their grandmother, often that's their character.
Mm.
There's a
Wow.
strong reflection, strong connection between their character and their grandmother's character. So that's been fun to explore with people.
Hmm. I'm trying to um, I'm trying to really sit with that and see, because there's a lot of my I don't know if that's the same for men too, and my grandfather, or or if it goes that way, there's a lot of my I guess history that I don't know, because my parents weren't married, and I have a loose connection with I guess the other side. Um, there's every once in a while, I am reminded that my name may have been William Ellis, and it's like, who is that person, right? um, but um, but yeah, I'm really trying to recognize um, how we're connected, how we are always connected, and there's this, in some cases, this interdependence that causes us this great pain when there is separation, right? When there is this physical, when there is this, I don't know, I don't know if I have the right language for it, but it feels like, even though that there are many of my loved ones that have passed, right? That are with me, that they're in my heart, they're in my mind, and there still is that sense of loss. There still is that sense um, of disconnection, when it in some cases that's really not the truth. So I'm trying to, I'm trying to figure out within this word of separation and dealing with that, because I personally believe one of the biggest challenges in my life is my inability to deal with grief and loss. And because
Mm.
I don't handle those two things well, um, how I show up in my life and how things show, how I hold too closely to things, how, I don't let, I don't let things go, how I create this suffering for myself, um, because I want to hold on to things. So I want to be able to, I guess, experience separation and not. Do you understand what I mean? Just
I
to
do.
really,
Mhm.
to really recognize, to really get that they're always with us. There's always, we're connected, but at the same time recognize that there is this separation that may cause pain and all that. So uh,
Sometimes it's very healthy.
hmm,
In marriages, for example, I cannot be in the same room with my husband when he's cleaning.
okay.
We don't get along when I'm cooking, you know.
Right.
So
You
there
need
are
space.
certain things where we need the other one to be somewhere else, and then we get back together and admire what the other one just did.
Right.
So we need space in our marriage to be in different areas, and
Hmm.
we don't even eat the same. So
Wow.
for us, separation is part of our marriage. And
Hmm.
at first it was difficult, but I've just embraced it. I didn't have a choice,
Right.
really.
Well, it's kind of, I couldn't imagine, like, when I was younger. I mean, I've been married for 29 years, going on 30 years. And I can remember the early years of marriage, and someone saying, "Oh, I need space," and it's like, "Oh my God, our marriage is failing," right? Right? Because you don't love me, you can't be in the same room with me, and it's like, now after 29 years, yes, everybody goes where yeah,
Right.
where they need
Yeah.
to go, and
And
everything
it's
is
healthy.
good, right?
It is healthy. It is definitely. definitely a good thing. But you were talking about holding on to things.
Mm,
I've chosen recently to embrace minimalism.
mm,
I find that the simpler things are, and the just letting go of stuff and creating simplicity, it gives me more spiritual space to live my life.
mm.
I
Yeah.
really love it. So for 2 years now, I've been letting go. I I watch YouTube videos. I follow Joshua Becker, a little bit of Marie Kondo. I read different newsletters, and they help me get my head in the right place. And
Right.
then I take my treasured books to the library to sell. I give clothes to Goodwill. I've given clothes to Dress for Success for women that need interviews. I've just let go. It's getting
Mm,
easier and easier. So the experience, well, right now, to present moment, the funny thing is that my husband doesn't, and he kind of hoards things that are special to him.
mm.
So he has lots of teaching things like little shapes that the students create little shapes that they play
Right.
with.
Gotcha.
He still has this colored plastic string that he used with Boy Scouts. That's from 20 years ago. He has just piles and stacks and piles and stacks, and he kind of hides them and he stores them under the bed, and they're stacked up in his closet. His closet was just packed with stuff. So when the big storm happened recently, the Zeta storm,
Yeah.
this huge tree fell on our bedroom
Wow.
and totally demolished our bedroom and his closet.
Wow. Not,
So he was forced to empty his closet. And he's taking all this stuff, carrying big armloads of stuff. He was taking about 60 bright colored shirts he used to wear as a teacher. He said, I don't think I really need all these anymore. And I thought to myself, somewhere, Marie Kondo is saying, yes, Robert.
yes. It's even um even though you don't want to celebrate someone's, when they're letting things go or being forced to let things go, because in some cases, I'll speak for myself, I want people to make that decision for themselves, and not have it that, what, because of this destruction, because of this, now I can, make some hard, choices and just kind of really let this go. But I think what was coming up for me is that most of the times for myself, I really don't separate or let go of something until there's this level of uh, trauma or demand of it. I mean, there is, the tree falls in the house type of thing. All right, now I guess there's no use to this. It's look, we were a part of, you joined me in a part of a big mission, that I had when I was in the triad. And it's a source of a lot of pain and questioning and disappointment that it didn't work out. It cost me over $500,000. And there was a part of me that did not want to let that go. And it almost cost me my marriage. There was a financial gain. My health, was struggling. And it really got me to a point that in order for me to really, um, I guess, get flat with my life, I had to let things go. I had to separate from the idea that this is going to be successful. I had the idea of what I thought that was going to be. And I just there's a part of me that was like, I so wish I could have learned that lesson without trauma, without losing that much money, without what was, happening within my marriage and everything.
But
But
Bill,
sometimes, yeah,
I don't mean to interrupt you,
okay,
but I just want to stop you for a second.
okay,
You know, tragedies, big, crucial disasters like that
great.
are so full of lessons.
Mm,
And you learned multiple lessons, I would guess.
absolutely. And still
Multiple.
learning. Right.
Probably more than $500,000 worth of lessons. When you look at what
Right.
you learned, what you would never do again,
Right.
what you can see that you didn't see before that now makes you a crackerjack consultant and coach,
Hmm.
and you couldn't have gotten there without going through that.
Right.
There's profound opportunities and gifts behind adversity.
Right.
And you really I that was sad. That was sad. It was a beautiful dream and a beautiful vision, and so many people were in awe of it. I'll never forget when I very first met you, and oh my gosh, what an incredible place. And it was tragic. But my God, you got such an education,
Hmm.
such an incredible education. And it was the kind of education that great thought leaders treasure.
Hmm.
You've always been a thought leader. So the more that you can gain from that education and that experience and see the opportunities that it continues to bring you, it was something.
No, I really appreciate that. And like I said, I haven't totaled up the lessons there. So so I'm hoping that there's over $500,000 worth of lessons in there, and I'm
I'm
sure there
sure there is. And you
are.
couldn't have learned them any
Right.
other way.
Absolutely. And it's like, but there's part of me is like, there could have been another way. There could have been. I'm sure there could have. But it's just really, even though I enjoyed um, living in the triad, I knew that I needed to to separate from that, not run away from it. But I needed to. It was almost for my sanity, really, to be honest. I had to see the world through different eyes. I had to see different so I can see again. I mean, I still have a dream of not a facility like that in anymore, and I don't know. It could be a part of it or not, but there is still um, there is still a gathering place of thought leaders, of people educating each other, of having discussions and things that I want to be a part of, and I think that's a part of my journey. And you're absolutely right. I will totally do it differently, right?
Yeah,
Than
but
I've done it
Bill,
before. Right?
also, nothing can separate you from your dream.
Hmm.
And it
Well,
changes form a little bit, but you are a visionary.
right,
And nothing can separate you from being a visionary.
right.
It's who you are.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And it's kind of within the conversation of disconnect to connect, the willingness to disconnect from not my dream, but how the image of that dream showed up, to allow the dream to show up. Do you understand?
Well,
The
I believe that we're all living in our story. We have
hmm,
a life story that we have created and we're living in it. And we
got it.
can choose a new life story.
Hmm,
But
got it.
when you choose a new life story, then it requires that you pivot that you see what triggers you and that you begin to observe yourself,
Right.
and how when you have a reaction, you start to notice things like that. And that's what I help people with as a coach, so they can pivot and create a new way of seeing themselves
Right.
and a new mindset, a new behavior, a set of action steps, and then an environment that supports them in being sustainable.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's the new story.
Right.
And people can create that and then live into it.
Right.
And there
Yeah.
will be some point where they decide to create another new story.
Right.
So we all have an old story, but we can all create a new story to live into. And you're doing that with this beautiful podcast.
Yeah. I I'm definitely embracing the conversations, and I really did not think that it would show up this way. It took a pandemic and realizing that I enjoy having conversations like this, and I wanted to have conversations like this on a daily basis for me to just step into it, right? And it has shown me, the wonderful people that I'm connected to, and then there are more people that I felt that I was separated from, right, because of proximity, that I'm really not. They're still, in my corner. They're still, big fans, and they're still, a phone call or a click away. And like I said, and sometimes there are separations in our minds that are not, the reality. And I'm learning that, and I'm very grateful for that.
So
Hmm.
that's, I think, the lesson for us as a country
Hmm.
is to see that we're not separate, that we're acting in different ways. We have different political beliefs, but we're not separate.
Hmm.
We have that healing in front of us now. And I don't know, what it's going to take. I think we have a good leader. We've chosen a good leader for that. Two good leaders. I think all of us need to find our own center of peace inside
Hmm.
and come from a peaceful place and not try to change each other, but try to understand.
Right. Hmm. Yeah, I believe we can talk about this for hours, but I'm sure there are a number of things that would love our attention and our intention for today. Is there anything that you want to, other than that? That was very beautiful. I just want to acknowledge you for that. Other than that, is there any other wonderful thing that you want to leave everyone with?
Mm. Well, I guess um, the one thing I'm doing right now myself, I'm going through a challenging time since our house is destroyed, and we're having to drive back and forth to a hotel. But I'm talking a lot to my child, myself as a child.
Hmm.
So I have a picture of myself actually in this very room when I was a very young child. And I know that when you look at yourself as a child, it's the picture of your essence,
Hmm.
absolute essence of who you are. So if you can imagine having a child going to a sporting event to play, at the age of 5 or 6, and coming home scratched up and muddy and crying and confused. And as a compassionate parent, you'd say, I'm really proud of you. You got out there and you gave it your best. What did you learn today? I'm so proud of you. Now tomorrow's another day.
Hmm.
And the child goes back out the next day and comes back. dirtier than before, kind of knocked up, crying again. I'm so proud of you because you went out there again. What did you learn today?
Hmm.
That's great. You're doing a super job. All right, tomorrow's another day.
Hmm.
And giving ourselves that kind of love and compassion
Hmm.
each day when we're not perfect, when we didn't do it right, we didn't say it right, or maybe we did nothing, we didn't act, and all the things we didn't do or should have done or could have done or mistakes we made, if we can just be compassionate with
Hmm.
ourselves.
Right.
Good job. Good job. I'm so proud of you.
Hmm.
That's how that's how I'll close this conversation.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. It's always an honor and a privilege. I don't know if I tell you enough that you're one of my mentors. I really look to you to, um, I don't know, to get the example of just loving each other. That's what connections are all about. It's just acknowledging our connections so we can love each other fully. And that's what I see when I have the pleasure of speaking with you. And that's what I aspire to, how I aspire to show up in the world. So thank you
Well,
very
thank you,
much.
Bill. I think
Thank
everyone has a super self, and you are showing up as yours.
Well, I try, and without a mask, right? So, all
Okay.
right. We'll say our goodbyes within the green room, but well, that would be great. Boy, separation. There's a lot of things that are still coming to mind, and that even though you may feel separated, you're not. There's always someone, something right there to help you through. Um, and when there are injustices or there are things that separate us from each other, right? If it's on a national level or a local level, um, there are people, there are other human beings that want to work with you to right the wrongs, or to right when we don't show up as our super selves. So I hope this conversation has brought value to you, not just to today, but to your life. I invite you to reach out to me at iamwilliambrown.com and have a complimentary coaching session to help you be yourself and live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow on One Word Conversation.